we're talking about working potentially 2 hours and generating $8,000 per month.
And I look at it this way, Matthew, if you can make $9,000 in 30 days, when you're at the start of the learning curve, you know me, dude, I've done $1 billion of real estate. And in all of the things that I've launched in the last 16 years, this is frankly the fastest moneymaker I've yet seen. I've got people in under a week making money.
If you're at 50 or 75 or 100 now, and you want these stepping stones, this model is a 7-figure model from what I can tell. All right. So I haven't moved. I'm sitting in the exact same spot because frankly, we're recording this immediately after our last video, but hopefully you're checking that one out too, because we're here with Mr. Kris Krohn. So we're here talking about a side hustle, which I've done away with. I don't use that term anymore. I use the term side empire because frankly, if you're willing to spend 8 freaking hours every day of your life trading each and every one of them for money, you should be willing to work for free for a year so you can make $1 million the next year. That, to me makes so much more sense. So any hour you invest in your side empire pays off in a way that is exponential and residual. Whereas if you're working a day job, that's not the case. You work 1 hour, you get paid for that hour, and you have to work another hour to get paid again. So we're talking about working potentially 2 hours and generating $8,000 per month. Obviously, there's a lot of appeal to that. In our last video, we touched on exactly what this is. We'll put the link in the description below for that as well. Kris, tell us a little bit more about how we can expect to see that type of an income with such a little commitment of time.
You know what? I think the best thing for me to do is actually show you exactly what it looks like. So that's what I'm going to do in just a minute. But for those of you that are watching, the whole reason why this works with this particular side hustle, or I like the way you put it, side empire, I actually called the name of this brand new program 7-figure hustle, because if a person were to really rig 10, 15, or 20 of these hustles and figure them out, they're going to make well over $1 million a year. And right now I've got a 90-day challenge going on with 200 people that are all fighting to be in top position. They've been in this competition now for 4 days, and these are the current results. Patrick Naughton says, I currently sent $80,000 worth of work from these leads to contractors. I've got $3,000 in commissions coming my way right now. I've got Dan McCormack. He says, I've already gotten 2 jobs today. Heather Wright says, I've sold and received payment for 4 sod jobs with $2,500 in profit. Again, 4 days. Let me see. Benjamin, I launched my pest control business 6 weeks ago. I took your ads and I reformatted them. So I now have 70 leads. I just closed 5 jobs and many more in the pipeline. Just a couple more. I currently have 63 sod leads, 20 deck leads, 18 house leads in my first 2 jobs. And Max says, I've got 20,000 in the pipeline. I'm doing 4 quotes a day. So
dude,
these are,
this is like, so just to clarify, these people are a week in.
I started their contest 4 days ago. 7 days ago, I gave them a training for 2 hours. And today I gave them my second training and I was checking in, and that's basically where these guys are at. So here's what I basically gave them. Every business basically has 3 same components: marketing, sales, and fulfillment. And basically, my brother is a genius for creating online. He's a genius for creating online leads, but no one knows how to really do improvement space. Like, for example, I want sod installed, or I want a brand new deck. Can someone paint my house? 100 years ago, if we had a project, we all would have done it ourselves. Today, we live in a different world. A lot of times, we want to ask someone else to do that work, and it's not like handyman and subcontractors actually know how to do online marketing. But my brother, who's a genius in that space, has hacked it in 30 different home projects. So it started with an experiment with a friend who was losing his job because of COVID. And it turned into this accidental community with 200 people that are all racing now to copy his results, because he cleared, over $8,000, $9,000 in his first 30 days. And now everyone wants to know how to do it. So when you ask, like, how duplicatable is this? How easy is this? Trent was here earlier today, and literally he's like, I'm going to get my 18-year-old son doing this. I got a 14-year-old daughter that I want to get doing this.
Dang,
because by the time, Matthew, my kids graduate high school, I privately educate my kids with a private teacher. By the time they graduate, I want them making more money than professors. So they just have more options in life.
And there's obviously a learning curve expectation when it comes to starting a new business. Trent's first month in, obviously a learning curve. How many hours did he put in? Because we talked in our last video that he's still working full time as a computer forensics investigator. Tell me what his commitment was to earn over $9,000.
So Trent consistently is putting in 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. He tries to take some of the weekends off, and the time he puts in is actually fairly flexible. But because he works full time, and right now he's prepping a huge deposition and a huge case. So, I tell you what, when someone is used to making like $3-4 grand a month, and they're like, I want to replace my job, I'm like, it's easy. You haven't accustomed yourself to a big lifestyle yet. But when you're making 6 figures and you're at risk of losing your job, it's actually harder, Matthew, to replace that. Or sometimes you meet these doctors that are sick and tired of being doctors, but they make $250,000-300 grand a year. And it's not like, hey, let's just try this thing and make an automatic $250,000. It's hard. So for my friend, when he came to me and he told me he's losing his job or at risk for it, I got worried and I thought, all right, well, he's got to replace 6 figures. How would he do that in 30 days? And I think the secret sauce of this is that my brother has hacked all of the ads, the exact language, how you upload them, the exact images. And if you have that, then you can just generate these leads for super cheap, like leads under $10 for projects over $1,000 with it on average, like a 40-50% margin. So how can you not make a lot of money?
Arbitrage broker, you're basically selling those leads off and you're able to arrange a split per se,
yes,
with the contractor who's ultimately doing the work, right? So let's say a contractor who's making $1,000 on a job, if they're willing to pay, just as an example, because I heard Trent mention in that webinar that I watched, a 5% split, which I'm assuming again is completely negotiable. He could easily pull $50 on a $1,000 gig that he spent less than $10 to get.
Well, it doesn't quite work that way. Let me actually level that up for you. So he came over today and he said, hey, Kris, here's an $800. He showed me his Square account. He's like, here's an $800 sod job I just got. He said, this lady was a pain in the butt. We've been texting. I probably spent 40 minutes on it. I said, well, how much money did you make on that $800? He says $350. So on that one, he's probably making $500-600 an hour. Mm-hmm. But you see his roofing, you're right. He only makes 5%, but these are $10,000 to $20,000 jobs. Mm-hmm. So he's got now 13 roofing jobs booked. He's got $6,100 coming in. And on those ones, he doesn't even talk to the customer. The lead comes in and all he does is he says, hey, I'm Trent here to line up your free roofing bid and to make sure that you get your discount on the roofing job. Send me a picture of your house so I can see what I'm looking at. And if they text him a picture of the house, then he'll say, great, thanks. And he'll 3-way text them to his roofer buddy and he's done. Then he gets carbon copied when the bid comes over. And right now, literally, this roofing contractor is over the moon. 13 jobs in 30 days, most of them in the last 2 weeks. And he's just like, he runs 6 crews. He's like, oh my gosh, Trent's now going to go to him and say, hey, you know what? You got to pay me 8% if you want to get exclusive my leads in this area. So that $6 grand now turns into 10 grand. So he's at the beginning of the learning curve. He's a baby in this. And I look at it this way, Matthew, if you can make 9 grand in 30 days when you're at the start of the learning curve, give them another
2 hours a day, 12 hours a week. I mean, there's something working here with this winning formula that you guys are selling. Who isn't a fit for this? It's obviously somebody that's not willing to follow instructions, right? Let's just obviously not off the list. I mean,
but let me go deeper. Like I've got 2 people that I'm booting out of the community. One I already have, one I'm about to. Okay. I've got 200 people now that last week I said, hey, come on in. Let's help you guys do it too. And out of the 200 people are racing for the gold. And as for fun, I said, hey, I'm going to throw out 10 grand to whoever makes the most money in 90 days for fun, right?
Okay, so you got a little contest going. All right.
Yeah, and a power day with me. Yeah. But I got this one gal who basically said, oh, what about the liability? And what happens if we get sued and if the job's not done right? And she just started whining. I said, I love you, but you're out. Like there's answers for all of these things. For example, when I hand the roof off to the roofing contractor, they're the one with errors and emissions. They're the one that are providing the guarantees and the warranties. The roofing supply company will also warranty that work as well. She says, yeah, but on sod, let's say you hire 2 young people to install the sod. What if they get hurt or something goes wrong? And don't you need insurance? And I'm like, actually, they're 1099 and they're responsible for themselves. The worry wart personality is that is essentially non-entrepreneurial is not a good fit. Mm-hmm. I've got another guy that, believe it or not, won't follow instructions. He keeps like texting and asking questions like, well, how do you do this? And how do you do that? I'm like, guy, I gave you a 2-hour training. You're just supposed to literally copy and paste. And he's refusing to do it. And I'm like, to do this, Matthew, you just got to be able to follow instructions and copy and paste. Mm-hmm. That's right. Now, the reason why these people are doing so much faster than Trent is like the learning curve happens so fast. We're just showing people exactly how to do
and you
it.
have the support there as well. I mean, there's community support. There's a Facebook page. You guys are obviously interacting. So they're able to get some of these questions answered. So following instructions, anybody that's maybe not entrepreneurial from the standpoint of problem solving, right? So if you're somebody that doesn't enjoy solving problems, look, none of us like problems, but as entrepreneurs, we're professional problem solvers. I mean, the more active you are, the more problems you should expect to have. The more money you want to make, more money, more problems. There's a reason, there's a saying.
Well, and one more thing, Matthew, I think that you have to be comfortable with a certain level of technology. I mean, we're copy and pasting and we're texting these people messages.
Copying and pasting and texting is your definition of being comfortable with a certain level of technology?
So before you laugh at it, we spent 40 minutes showing people how to set up a Facebook ads account and how to fill out the fields. It was the most boring 40 minutes of my life. And we did it really slow so that people could just follow along and check the right box and fill in the right thing. And it's still copy and paste, but if you're uncomfortable with like a mouse and like navigating the internet, it's probably not a good fit.
Well, let's just go ahead and assume my audience is beyond that. Number one, they're here on YouTube, right? So you had to already understand how to click a mouse to get to this video. And if you're smart enough to get to this video, you're smart enough to put in how to set up a Facebook ads account in the search field of YouTube, right? So YouTube is one of the best places to get your answers without having to pester Kris. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I guess that's what I'm saying. Although I would say above all, I mean, this really lends itself to the hustler. And, my definition of a hustle is I tell these people, I'm like, listen, you just had a lead come in for like a sod lead right now is $1. And a roofing
crazy.
It's wild. And the roofing lead is $7. And right now
for a $1 lead and a 40-minute conversation, Trent's pulling down $350.
Yeah, but Trent was pissed because he's like, Kris, this is normally like 5 minutes.
Right, exactly.
I lost 40 minutes of my life I can't get back, except for at least I got paid $350.
And these poor frontline doctors, man. No wonder they want out. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands in student loan debt that's still sitting there, I suppose.
I know, it's just crazy.
Is there anybody else that you would point out? Listen, don't email. And by the way, the email address, guys, for those of you guys that are sitting there saying, holy shit, pardon my language, $9,000 from a brand new, rookie with 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. I want some of that. Then go ahead and email Kris@VIPfinancialeducation.com. That's Kris with a K, K-R-I-S. I'll put it in the description below for you, and we'll make a warm intro for you guys. Is there anybody else that you would say, listen, this isn't it? Is it somebody that's afraid of investing money in themselves? I mean, this isn't that. Let's talk about the price.
Okay.
So there's a slew of options, so to speak, right? There's sort of this buffet of ways of making money inside this arbitrage model. And it could cost anywhere from as little as a couple $1,000 up to 25,000, or even, I suppose, north of that as demand continues to pick up, right? So as of right now, the highest price tag is around 25, but if you're getting as much interest in this as you've seen out of the gate, I would guess that you're probably going to be raising the prices on that.
Well, to be honest, I've seen two different types of people, right? So I've got my high-end clients that come in at 25 grand, and they're in my mastermind with me and Nick, and we show them everything. And so they're moving at the speed of light, because for them, it's not, I want to pick up 50 or 100 grand a year. They're actually going for the goal. They want to know, how do I create multiple six figures? How would I get to seven figures? I've got some people in my tribe that are millionaires, multimillionaires, $1 million earners, and so for them, they're just saying, hey, I want to go all out. On the other end of the spectrum, I've got a lot of people in my tribe who they're young. I attract a lot of young millennials, Matthew. And so I created a super entry level version where I give them 3 ads, and that's keeping them busy. And they're just making, for them, that's probably more about make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $7,000 a month on the side.
Yeah, to start. And then they're still maturing, right? They're evolving.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, and that tends to be a smaller part of my audience. I'm only at 12%, that demographic. My demographic tends to be more 30s, 40 somethings, people who are really ready to take charge of their lives and really get into that next chapter, I would say, which For
Yeah.
those folks, they often have the means, or they use debt weapons that we help them get to get into the program. That's something here, guys, that you should understand, is that our coaching services can help you actually engage in any of these side empires that we're bringing to you, including Kris's. And by the way, this is kind of hard to poke holes in, man. I mean, I like to be the skeptic, and
I know you do, Matthew. You off camera. You ask me 1,000,001 questions. I love it about you, though. That's how you protect your people, and
right,
and how you have the success that you do.
Well, I want to preserve reputation, and so the bottom line is I've got to take care of you guys, the viewers, first. And so, if I do get any less than perfect feedback, and Kris will be honest with you. I mean, listen, I've had one person in the interactions and all of the follow-up that's taken place since that was less than perfect. And I was immediately on top of it, and I've stayed on top of it since then. It just happened fairly recently. And at the end of the day, guys, I hold guests of our channel more accountable than I would imagine, or as accountable as any channel out there. And I think that's the key here, is we've got to do the vetting, and we've got to feel like you guys know that we have your back. And I do. I have your back. I think this is freaking genius. And maybe it's just because I've spent somewhere north of $85,000 in the last 12 months on handyman services. And so I feel beat up on this thing. I know just how ugly this gets. I know how poorly that industry markets themselves, and how difficult it must be as a result to get really great qualified leads.
Matthew, I just got to say, ironically, construction is one of the most lucrative industries that exists, but because it's so feast or famine, because of the poor character of people that are drawn to it, that we have to deal with. Look at how hard you have to work to find someone that can do, HVAC on a home, or someone that can replace a roof. It's hard to find someone but if you find that consistently good person and then feed them constant work, what it actually does is it actually, instead of downward spiral, feast and famine, it upward spirals, where they become more and more and more successful. In fact, I would say that probably the top 5% in construction make multiple six figures or millions of dollars a year, because it's actually a really lucrative space if you're organized. And that's what we're bringing. We're bringing disruption to this handyman contractor space and saying, well, we can actually deliver consistent business for you. Now we just got to find the good people. We got a simple system for finding them. And then we just feed them the work. They're thrilled. They're happy. They're making a lot of money. We're making a lot of money. The client's getting what they want. It's working. You know me, dude. I've done $1 billion of real estate. And in all of the things that I've launched in the last 16 years, this is frankly the fastest moneymaker I've yet seen. I've got people in under a week making money. And
is this $100 million plus business model for you, do you think?
Bigger. There's actually some bigger plays with it. This will be bigger. Yeah.
Well, we're glad to be involved. I'm glad to get my audience's eyes on it. I think that having them exposed to the opportunity is a huge honor. So we do thank you very much, Kris. Guys, for those of you who are curious, you want more information, start by emailing Kris@VIPfinancialeducation.com. We'll set up a custom email address. That's Kris with a K, K-R-I-S. I'll throw it in the description for you, as well as the link to our first video that gives a little bit more detail behind the model itself. And be on the lookout for an autoresponder as well. If there's any additional information that would be helpful for you guys to sort of self-qualify, so you're not wasting your own time or theirs, we'll throw it in that autoresponder for you. Ultimately, this has me super, super excited. And I think it's going to be an awesome fit for anybody that's looking to at least add an extra $100,000 to their bottom line each year to start. And once you have it figured out, it seems to me that it's one of those models that can be scaled to almost any level. And I tell people a lot, I don't tell everybody, because I don't think that everybody fits into this objective, but I tell everybody who I think does, that I don't even put my eyeballs on something that I think doesn't have the potential of earning at least 7 figures a year. I would have to go backwards to earn $200,000 or $300,000 or $500,000 a year. A lot of people, I mean, if you're at 50 or 75 or 100 now, and you want these stepping stones, anything we bring onto this channel is great for that. This model is a 7-figure model from what I can tell. Guys, just know that this is very much about your mindset. You've got to understand, number one, that it is possible, and number two, that you deserve it. You deserve $1 million a year. You deserve it as much as I do. You deserve it as much as Kris does, or as much as anyone else that you see on this platform who's getting it already. And so get out there and get it. You got to be a hustler. Got to be somebody that can follow instructions and take the roadmap that's already built. There's a reason that it costs $25,000, big freaking deal. If you can make $1 million with it, you should be happy to pay that. Guys, we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. I'm going to have Kris back in. We're going to keep talking about different subjects along, the lines of this so that maybe it'll help the light switch go on if it's meant to. Otherwise, be a subscriber. I'm going to keep bringing you stuff, whether it be short-term rental hacking, whether it be pink houses, whether it be ClickFunnels, which is where I made $1.5 million in my first year. I even had a conversation with Dan Locke, a guy that has some controversial subject matter who teaches you how to sell. Guess what? Sales is one of the best places to make money. I love that you don't need that for this model because not everybody has the gift. So this is a good one for almost everybody from what I can tell. So guys, we'll see you on the next video. Kris, thanks so much, man.
Very well, Matthew. Thank you, guys. Take care.
See you on the next one. Bye-bye.